Hello there, fellow modders. Here, what we're seeing now, it's not me actually recording all of this, but as you can see, this is a video. It's the video I did originally, where I was showing what I was going to do to end up to finish the tome. Unfortunately, the audio wasn't correctly recorded, so this forces me to do a voiceover. So it won't be exactly the same, but I hope that I can at least mimic what I was saying in the video, or a little. Yeah. So without further ado, let's start explaining what we were doing. If I recall correctly, here in the Scent of Flesh, I was explaining that originally I intended to use a combat enchantment, okay, to cast our the effect, the buffs for the carrion bird, because the original way of giving +1 hunger every turn wasn't up to standards. It wasn't what I wanted. So we were trying to use an enchantment that would target the bird with a specific dummy that we would apply to it, so that the enchantment would know that that was the target. It had to then apply the actual hunger. But then I actually found that by using this single stack auto spell and using the trigger type on combat start right at the very bottom, then we could actually we could actually apply the 3 stack hunger stacks and also a berserk status effect. And it's interesting because the auto spell, even though it's set to on combat start, because it's like for the summon. The turn when it's summoned, it's combat start, so it actually triggers, and it triggers only once, and not multiple times, and that's exactly what we want. It has the benefit of being only 2 elements, as you can see, only 2 elements here. So yeah, we should try to go for that, and it's not so difficult. As you can see, we're using the unit property auto spell and the trigger type on combat start. We will, of course, use this custom targeter that will contain the buffs. Let's see if I actually show you. But yeah, I think that we will be reusing the same stuff from the status effects, these 2 elements from the auto spells of the auto stack of hunger. So you will just simply need to copy those 2 elements, the auto spell and the targeter. So copy paste those, then set them to proper data store tags, and then relink them. Okay. Fix the links, set it to on combat start, and finally in the tactical unit targeter, of course, it will target itself because it targets the caster. And then we simply have to add 3 times the hunger and once the berserk. Make sure it's the one that lasts for 3 turns. And then we can set to friendlies only, but it doesn't matter. It will only target our units. But yeah, then also make sure that for the summon effect, we are using this new auto spell in the summon property. And that's basically it. I'm showing that because it has a 1 action point. The carrion bird actually attacks once whenever it's summoned, and it does so automatically because it's a berserk. It's in berserk mode, so it will attack the closest target, whether it's an ally or an enemy. It does prefer attacking enemies, but this makes it so it's a little bit trickier to cast this spell. I feel this is flavorful enough. But I recall that maybe it was still too strong. So I believe that we will try to search for some damage, to apply some damage to this carrion bird so it doesn't spawn with full health. Because as you know, it's a tier 2 unit. It has 2 defense and resistance. So it's maybe just a tad a bit stronger. So I believe we will try to search for damage, and we won't find anything here. So I will consider creating one damage element ourselves. So let's see what I do here. But yeah, that was the actual thing I did, if I recall correctly. Yeah, here I'm looking for those damages. In the end, I believe that I actually also changed this to a tier 2 spell, not just a tier 1, because even then I still felt that as a tier 1 spell maybe too much. But just like with everything, try to name it correctly, with Scent of Flesh, in this case summon damage. And yeah, I was trying to add it already here. I know that it didn't appear because it was a strategic unit effect. Here I was a bit confused why that is not appearing, but it's because we are using a strategic and not a tactical. Then once I notice that, I will revert it to a tactical strategic effect. Yeah, here what I did is why it's not applying? Let's check this other element. And then I noticed, of course, but it's the same. Oh, wait a minute, it's not exactly the same. Here it says a strategic. And then I search for the tactical unit effect. So don't make that mistake if you're following this. Or if you did, don't worry. You can change it now. Change it back. And here I was trying to look for something to compare it. Or not, sorry. Here what I wanted to do is know how much health does a tier 2 unit have in comparison to a tier 1, so that we actually know how much we should hard this carrion bird. How hard should it be summoned as? I also mentioned that since it has a healing ability, it won't matter as much. But yeah, here I'm actually looking at an average of the health of tier 1 units, and as we saw, it's about 50 to 60, so 55. And then I said, so since we have our Kern bird has about 70, let's say we do 25 damage. So a little bit more than what a tier unit would have. So, sorry, in this case, it would have less because we are dealing a bit more of damage. But here I didn't know that actually this damage will be partially prevented by the unit defense. So it will be funny when I see that it's not actually this number. But yeah, the intention here was to say, since it actually has more defense, so in this case I actually noted that it has more defense. Since it has this extra defense, it will still be tankier than a regular tier 1 unit. So let's try to damage this unit a little bit more. Where else? Here I don't recall what I was talking right now, but make sure that the Karen bird is correctly set so that we're summoning the correct element. I'm pretty sure that you already have that. Just a funny thing is that these category names are very important, and if you are using, for some reason, let's say that you copy paste and use one that from an in-game category or category, however it's said. In that case, whatever you put on the sets, it will actually be added to that set. So be very careful with those, because you may think that you are not editing the game in any shape or form, that your mod is entirely self-contained, but that might not be the case. And we do. Yeah, I was just checking if I was. Yeah, no. I guess I did a real lengthy explanation or something. And in any case, yeah, make sure that those tags are to something unique to your mod, so as to not mess with the in-game ones, unless you want to do that. In that case, it would be like a sneaky addition of those unit sets. But it's nice to know that actually happened me with the Book of Witches, because I actually I added I forgot to rename it, and then I was and since I was using a wrongly set tag, a tag that didn't exist, then the machine thought, or the game thought, oh, this doesn't exist, so let's not ignore this. And then the actual in-game summoners, these summoners weren't actually summoning anything. So yeah, a fun little bug. But anyway, let's. Yeah, I recall that once I had all of this, I was mentioning all of the little spells that we've been creating so far, just like a little review reminder. So yeah, with this we have done a unit spell, we have done a tactical summon, also a tactical damage buff spell, we have done a strategic a spell, we've done a minor transformation, and also an enchantment. So a little bit of everything. That was the intention. This was made on purpose. I wanted to do a tome that was more or less kind of straightforward, and for that matter, a little bit generic, but that touch upon all the little things that the tome usually has. And what else? Here we are looking at the property group of the insatiable hunger. Probably just for explanation reasons, I just showed that. And what else here? I'm showing the ravenous mark. Probably nothing too important here. But yeah, we have a revisit. So with all of our efforts, our little modding adventures, we have done quite an interesting tome, I guess. Even though it's straightforward, it touches upon everything I wanted to touch. So to give us an example, so that everyone can actually join in on the fun of modding tomes in this game. And also we've done obviously a hero skill, because without it, it wouldn't be complete. And also province improvement. Not all tomes have province improvements, or maybe hero skills they do have, but yeah, not all tomes have province improvements. But ours does, because yeah, it's meant to be an example. An example that, by the way, will be also on the mod, the Age of Mods, Age of Tomes mod. But yeah, and to be honest, there's not much. It's not too much to it. I mean, it's a lengthy process. It does require being careful with wherever you pick and set. But as long as you use other things as templates, it shouldn't be too difficult to make stuff that works. And then if you want to do some more specific things, some more wild ideas, then it may you may need to test some things out. And just like this, I didn't know, for example, that auto spell set to on battle star triggers would do so for summons at least once. So it's a learning process, and you shouldn't be afraid to try stuff. I believe it was trying to show that scent of flesh. Yeah, because after all those little edits, I wanted to show that the scent of flesh was actually performing as desired, and the behavior that we're looking for Here it's for a scent of flesh that triggers once, only once, and then applies both 3 hunger, the berserker effect, and also starts off a little bit damage. Here I was also having a quick look at the different descriptions, because that's what this video will be basically about, making sure the little descriptions are correctly set, and yeah, this is just polish and making sure that tooltips and all that stuff is nice and up to standards for our age of tomes, because we want only the best for our customers. Here we see the actual famous battle where we lose one of our peasants due to a bit of bad luck and stupid AI positioning. But here we receive 2 critical hits and the unit dies. That's when we can actually use the scent of flesh. So in that sense, it serves our purposes. And let's see if the summon actually works as intended. Come on. Come on, me from the past. You can do it. I know you can right click this. Or is it left click? No, it's right click. Okay, good job. Good job, good job. And as we can see, the current bird actually attacked. And yeah, here I was trying to see the damage that had sustained the current bird, to see did it spawn with the correct damage applied. And yeah, if you can see, it does. It's hurt, quite hurt. Aside from the 10 damage of the enemy, it's a little bit more hurt than that. And then it's when I notice, so this defense is actually reducing the amount of damage that this spell does. And by the way, I actually tried to look for a way to make it so that the damage bypasses damage reduction. But this doesn't seem to be the case. There is one bypass damage, but that's for the actual abilities, so ability modifiers. But since we're using spells in this case, yeah, that's not what we want. So here I will go back, and I believe I will check the damage. I will check if there's some way to do that, what I've just explained. But that's not the case. Here I was doubting, should I go back completely, or should I stay here because I want to check some things later? And I was doubting all of that while trying to make coherent explanations, which sounds harder, which seems easier than it actually is once you're actually recording. Now I'm much more calm, honestly. Now I'm simply looking at myself and having a little bit of fun. But yeah, as you can see, I was trying to look for the damage. Maybe this is actually better, and I should just for the sake of knowing this, for any potential videos. Yeah, maybe I should actually try to record the process, but not say anything, and then actually make just a little bit of edits and talk over it. Of course, this would imply a little bit more, more effort on my part, because I would have to basically, it would take basically double time, at least double time, plus any edits. But yeah, it's a lot easier whenever you're not actually doing stuff, to see the mistakes and to comment on them, and yeah, you may lose my all those stuff that all noises that I do when I don't know what to say. But yeah, come on, Eric, I know you can do it. What are you trying to say here? I don't recall, honestly, but yeah, this is as I've explained before, this little trick of auto spell and cast a targeter, it's really handy, and I'm sure I will reuse it many times, because the problem with displays with using, say, uh, um, property group and then add it to the summon effect, then we have all those problems with displays not appearing. And the idea here was to give the scent of flesh, or well, not in here. I wonder. Oh no, that was for another element. Yeah, now I'm missing something. Doesn't matter. The thing is, here yeah, don't mind. It's not important. Uh, let's see what I do. Okay, here, this is important though. As you can see, I actually, after a lengthy explanation, I actually explain how, even though we are damaging the bird, I also changed and upped a little bit the damage, if you saw it just now. But I upped the damage of the spell because we have to take into account the defense. Yeah, and then I increased the tier of the spell, both in the skill front end and the actual spell, the cost. I increased that because, as you can see, it's tier 1 right now, but we will make it tier 2. And here finally I was checking the different texts, and then I started to write down all those different missing or text links or issues or whatever. And the idea here is that I don't know if I explained it before, but there are like there's two different ways. There are links that take variables that are stored in the actual editor and in the RPK or CLV files. And then there's links that don't actually take anything from the files, but that you can edit on those files. So once we're in the editor, you will see that we will use some of those, because some we can link, we can grab, and some we can't. And just to make sure, just to remind you, since I also wanted to, since we did this split for the life drain or life link or however it's called in this game, since we did this split between repeatable attacks and non-repeatable attacks, so basically the typical fighter units use repeatable attacks and then the shock units use single attacks. Since we splitted those and gave just one life drain or for the repeatable ones and 2 life drain for the single ones, I also wanted to represent this split in the actual extra melee damage, just to be consistent, and because I don't like these partial things where in one case it applies and in the other no. I want everything to be consistent and logical. So here I was trying to say, let's say, how are we going to do this? I believe that in the end I used these, these modifiers, and I was actually applying the extra damage here. So the repeating property will have both the hunger drain repeating modifier and also a sneaky physical damage modifier. Here I was unsure about whether directly use those that I was selecting or hovering over, because I didn't know whether they would be applied for all the units or for all types of attacks, or only for melee attacks, because we don't want to give this to ranged units. It doesn't make sense. It's a hunger thing. It's meant to make the unit crazy and attack on close quarters. That's why I was trying to look into this file and see whether it mentioned melee attacks only or something. But as you can see, once we go back, and here it does say only strike, melee strike. But once we go back, you will see that since we're actually already filtering for the repeating or not repeating, in theory, these extra properties we're giving will also be filtered as well. They are on the same pack, little pack. Exactly here, as you can see, this melee weapon already or should preclude this from affecting a lot of things, and instead it will only affect the melee one. So yeah, let's actually add the physical damage. This is for the repeating weapon. So let's just add the +1, and we will do so the same for the single property, but add a +2 instead. And let me drink some water. Okay, what else? What else I'm doing? You can do it. You can do it. I believe in you. Okay, good job. I guess I could have used the +2 physical damage modifier. I believe there's one there instead of doubling those +1, but it doesn't matter. I believe. Let's say. In any case, that should be it. I believe I don't actually enter the game to show this. I simply trusted myself. I haven't actually tested out, but I still trust myself from the past. So hopefully it works. It should work, honestly. But yeah, if not, the people will complain and we will change it. But here we finally have a look at the Tome of Hunger PO file, the one we edit with the PO edit. How's it called? Program. And there's quite a lot of stuff here to change. I'm not sure if I have already written down the stuff that I needed to change. We will see. What am I doing now? Let's see. I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. I see I'm looking specific. The wildlives. Okay, oh yeah, now I recall. Yeah, here I was trying to. Well, you will have to do so. There's just one little caveat with this is that we are referencing in the text the current bird, okay, so that it displays in the tooltips. But to do so, it does need a stat data store tag, and it doesn't have one. Okay, the original files, the in-game files, don't have one. For some reason, the developers didn't add one at those because they've never actually used this handy little hyperlink. So it's missing. So this means we will have to add it. So just grab the one from the PO file that I provide to you. And this way it would simply work. As long as it has a data store tag, it will work. Of course, you need to reference it correctly, but yeah, that's what's handy. And this way you can have little tooltips with the actual units that you can add, not just these ones, but for units you custom units you add, you can do so as well. If you input this global dot unit, it's dot whatever you call or you put in your data store tag, and then dot hyperlink. Here, by the way, these hunger stacks, these are the ones that aren't directly linked to anything in the editor. So, and these have to be added manually once we enter into a description. You will see in a minute, I'm sure. Yeah, I believe I actually show you this right now. So you press this little button, and yeah, here below, as you can see, there are some keys, and this key we have generated ourselves. You can put whatever you want here, but make sure it's descriptive so that you know what it's referring to. And then whatever you put there, it will be used for the text. It will replace. So because we Disney spell now works a little bit different, we are actually going to change this description. Here I make a reference that the unit will spawn with Berserk, but then I will change my mind and I will take this text and put it in the same sentence and not on a separate one. What I did though is actually search for in this hyperlink dump, which is available in the if you search for it, I'm sure you'll find it into the official Discord in the section of modding questions. So look for it. It's pinned, I believe, and then grab that and then search for the Berserk hyperlink, and then just copy paste that. And as you can see, this is under global properties Berserk. And this global properties also applies to stuff you can add. So we will be actually using, I'm not sure if you can see one on the top right side of the screen. Yeah, you should be able to see one in the gameplay description row. Tome Hunger, Tome Gameplay Description. There's one that says embrace the eternal global.properties.hunger. So as you can see, we can actually reference our own custom status effects. So here you see me editing and explaining that you can even further customize those hyperlinks you are calling, these keys, by making it changing this text a little bit and using hyperlink, comma, blah blah blah, and then whatever you want to actually say this link, and then slash hyperlink, etc. But yeah, here you see me editing this string and then changing my mind and moving stuff around. In the end, this may not be as important as the rest of the stuff, because it's probably that you won't even publish this thing if you have followed with me in this series. So the important part is, instead of the actual literal text or however I organize my sentence, is the fact that you can reference this stuff, and you can, even if this key reference are those that do so automatically. By the way, I'm referencing to those here on the right side. So even if it's one of those types, you can overwrite whatever they say, and by inputting them by inputting the text. Okay, so because and you will see further on down the video, further down. I'm not sure if the video goes up or down, but further down the video, you will see that we make one of those, in theory, automatic references, but they don't work. Sometimes they don't work. We don't really know why. This has happened to other modders, but sometimes they don't work. What most of this stuff does need is to actually for the editor to be closed and opened again from the very beginning. I mean, not just close the RPK, but the editor itself. Okay, close the program and open the program, so that all these text elements you have changed are actually updated and propagate through the program. If not, they won't appear, and you may think that they aren't really working. But yeah, here you see me creating new elements to use as reference. all these elements, what are useful is to both show to the player more info, and so that it doesn't need to be displayed on the tooltip, and also because it allows us to don't not care about the specific wordings. We just put this, and even if they change in the future, and if the values change in the future, we know that the value we are just referencing. Since we're using the key, we don't really care about the value, and if they change the value, the key will still point there, and the text will still be updated. So this way, we don't lose so much time trying to maintain an updated text, and instead use this a little way. It's a bit more complex. The text loses some legibility. It's harder to read, but yeah, it's easier to maintain, and maintaining stuff is the hard part. So we sacrifice some readability for some easier to maintain. As you can see, we have to manually input those values for the different non-automatically generated keys or tags. And I'm not sure if I should actually show you all of this, because honestly, it's not like this is the most interesting or useful to know stuff. Maybe I should simply give you the end result as well, so that you can use that. And instead, yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess I could use this time to, I don't know, explain more things about how I do stuff, or how I envision my tomes. Because honestly, this is quite boring, in the sense that it's very repetitive. I simply go skill by skill, thinking, okay, have we changed this skill? If so, what's the actual new behavior? So let's try to match the new behavior to a new description that fits it, and then picking these little global properties, and making sure they are pointing to the correct ones. So yeah, I believe I will simply skip. Uh, I will simply skip and use this remaining time. I will don't worry, I will provide the final edits, but I'm pretty sure that you already see my workflow here. I usually try to search the hyperlink dump, and if it's not there, some things are on the actual en files. I believe it's also on the question section of the official Discord, the modding section. And with that en.po files, you can actually search how they structure their spells. I do try to be consistent, or follow the wording and styling of the in-game text. That's one thing I do care about. Of course, it's not something 100% exactly, especially because some of my spells or effects are different, and there's no proper examples to draw from. But yeah. So yeah, let me. Well, I have these stupid little additions, text edits on the background. Uh, let me explain a little bit how I approach this. Honestly, in this video tutorial, I actually had to change things a little bit how I do approach this tome modding, because first of all, since I actually needed the viewers to follow along, I had to have all the little art assets already prepared, and the descriptions were, while they weren't quite complete, a pretty sizable chunk of them are fairly complete. They simply lack some those actual values and little keys uh, for them to be complete. I usually substituted those for temporary values like X or Y or whatever, in the hopes of that you could follow along with me and see that we could actually change those for actual tags that update automatically, because that's going to be important. And by the way, you can also, this is also important in theory for future potential translation, so that translations are easier, so that they don't have to care about our own little balance passes and balance updates, uh, because we can do those and they will automatically update, and translations won't care about that. They will still be updated. However, seeing the status right now of translations in this mod community right now, it's not something that it's too important anyway, because we don't even know how to offer proper translations in a single mod. That is, there are some translations, but those are the ones that use our mods as dependencies, and then they do some edits. But yeah, they are not exactly the same. What I'm talking about is mods that offer the different localizations already. And wait a minute, because here we do have seems like we do have a change, incredible change by Eric DB. What am I actually doing here? I'm looking at the nature's bounty. Oh yeah, now I recall. I see that. I forgot. Looking at the descriptions, I saw that we had forgot to add the actual healing effect of the special province improvement, the one that heals or adds a little bit of healing to the units that are in that province. And here I was comparing the different values, because I didn't want this to be terribly over. Uh, how's it called? Or either nerfed or too overpowered. There we go. Terribly overpowered. And yeah, I believe that in the end, since what I wanted is to apply. I didn't want this to be to compete with the actual effect of the other tier 1 province, or I believe tier 1 or 2 province improvement. Or wait, where am I? This is meet in the menu. This is not the province improvement. Seems that I spoke too soon, because that's something that we will look into later, as I believe. Here is simply the healing, the extra healing that meet in the menu should provide based on the description. This also I also forgot, it seems. And yeah, this is just extra healing that we give to the units, like simulating that because they ate their companion, their friend in the stack, they actually regain some health from that. Originally, it was to be like a region per turn, but yeah, I didn't. At this point in the video, in the 8-hour long tutorial, I just wanted this to be done. So instead of regenerating each turn, I said screw it and let's just heal a flat amount right here and there, here and now, and yeah. and leave it like that. Easier for me to also just add a little bit of health on the properties. So you can actually do that if you want to follow the tutorial. But I believe at this point you may already understand how these little things you can add as many of those properties as you want, especially for this kind of magic effects. They don't really care about the problem. It's mostly on the specific status effects. Those have problems with display, as you may have already seen in the series. And let me drink a little bit more water. Because one of the drawbacks of actually speaking over myself is that I actually become a little bit more talkative, and therefore my throat is getting more less moist over time. Dry is the word that I was looking for. Yeah, and let's see what I'm doing. Just looking over things, probably comparing it to the text description to make sure everything is correct. Yeah, there's not much secret in here, not too anything too interesting. Where else? Yeah, I was explaining. Unless we see something that needs to be explained, I will continue with my thesis of how I do things. So yeah, as I was saying, I try to for this series, I try to have all those assets prepared in advance so that you could follow along. This is something I usually do at the last time. I mean, I iterate, I do some changes here and there, but usually it's one thing that I do at the last time because spells change and original ideas don't really work sometimes, and then I don't like having icons that don't represent what this spell is now doing. So I usually do that at the end. And the same is true for the descriptions. Here I already have a pretty advanced or set description from the very beginning so that we could follow along and it was easier to see or to also like link stuff like, oh, maybe I don't know which skill number is this one we're working right now, but I see here that it says the actual name of the spell, so it must be this one, for example. But yeah, I also usually do that at the end because skill names also change a lot during development as the idea develops and it becomes clear what's feasible and what's not possible. And what else? What else? And yeah, right now I'm basically focusing on tier one tomes. I want to have one for each affinity because I thought here, hey, it's important. I believe the first tome it's usually the most fun one. It's one that kind of orients your playthrough. So yeah, that I thought if we have to add more tomes, it better be for the lower tier ones because that's where most impacts will be. It will be the most impactful ones. Tier 5 tomes are for me mostly relevant because by the time you get to tier 5, you either have one already or will cast the research, the global spell and win anyway. So yeah, they are kind of. Here we, as you can see, we actually uh, add. Let me see what I add. I'm actually adding some in health bonus to insatiable hunger. Why was that? Oh yeah, yeah. Now I get it. Yeah, the thing is because we were using the health on already created health bonus for whatever thing they were using it in game. That element apparently didn't have data store tag, so we couldn't actually reference that value. So that forced me to actually do our own health bonus to properly add a data store tag to reference in the description. Yeah, well, that's a little bit unfortunate. I had to do some extra work there, but that's fine. And what else? So yeah, for tomes, what I usually do is instead of skill by skill, I simply copy for the skills page. I simply copy the whole page, copy paste, and then relink everything there. Lately, I'm trying to follow sort of a similar pattern. So let's say skill one will be the unit, skill two will be the summon, skill three will be the tactical damage one. Then we will have the enchantment, and then whatever. This way, these internal text links for the tooltips are already set. I don't have to change those, just as a little time saver. Of course, this doesn't end up being the way it is always, and I do try to offer different things in different tomes, but that works for me. And then I simply go skill by skill and try to implement them just like we did in this tutorial. Here you see me struggle finding the demi-human reference because there isn't one apparently. So yeah, because here we are doing something a little bit yeah, strange in the sense that we are using these concepts for let's say subtypes, these races, meaning Fey and Fiend and Giant and all those stuff. They have their own races, and therefore they have their own concepts that you can reference. But then there are some specific internal tags that's what we are actually using for the spells to trigger to so that our little ogres, which are demi giants, can be target for our insatiable hunger effect. And therefore, for those tags, we don't seem to have definitions. So we have only partial way of referencing those. But yeah, and what else about how I do things? Right now, yeah, the next one, why not? I can already say here I will focus on the one for strategy or tactics. Still not sure about the name, but it will be order focus most probably. And I wanted to actually about this tier one tomes I want to add the little I want them to be single or mono affinity. I do like hybrid tomes, and that's why I did the Tome of Witches and the little fairy ones. But for tier ones, I wanted to offer more diversity, more options that I feel that are unexplored for those elements or affinities. And in this case, for order, we've seen some like two very religious aspects, honestly. And I wanted something a little bit abstain from that, or yeah, no, not abstract, but separated from that, you know. So So strategy seems something that requires order and precision and organization and all of that. Could be the tome of logistics, but maybe it wouldn't be so much fun, I guess, except for some logistic fanboys out there. Uh, but yeah, here we come back to the bottomless cauldron. I believe we may actually add the healing effect, or maybe it was already there. I don't recall at this point anymore. But we did have to manually input the values for sorry for bonus and penalties because we can't actually refer to those. Province improvements are special in that sense, in that they don't have those data store tags, so we can't reference those. And yeah, for spells for the tomes, continuing our little uh, TED talk. For the tomes, I try to be as close as possible to existing tomes in as far as values go. But of course, in because I try to use different new combinations of effects and sometimes I do some really strong ones. It can be that they are not as like balanced as I would like them to be, or honestly I simply don't have time to spend like I don't know 3 weeks testing those tomes unless I want to release one tome each month, which it's not what I want. I want because I do want to add so many tomes. So I have to sacrifice a little bit of actual playtesting in that sense. uh, I hope that you guys, people that uses my tomes, do that for me just a little bit, and are not too harsh on me for that. But yeah, I hope that in any case, I'm always open to balance changes and even some mechanical changes if we feel that if we feel that it's either too strong or doesn't fit to the theme, because the theme is mostly what I'm looking for, aside for not being obviously broken or overpowered. The theme is what I'm looking for because the theme is what I have fun with. The actual playing sometimes is less important for me than the ideas or potential or imagination of thinking about stuff and fun combinations. That's what really enjoy. That's what I really enjoy. By the way, we will have to add the Gortos Piglet unit that store tag to the Piglet because that unit also doesn't have that. Mm, I did a whole list of units that don't have those for in and posted that on the forums as well, so that devs are aware of it. And how are we going? Yeah, it's close to 1 hour mark. So, and I believe this isn't too important. I'm not sure if there's anything here that's too relevant. Let's see for hunger drain. Yeah, as you can see, I had to reopen the Tome of Hunger multiple times because it's obvious that when I'm recording or using this recording program, and I have the resource editor open and the game open, it seems to crash somehow. Maybe it runs out of some type of memory or something, and then it crashes. Not that it's too bothersome in the sense that I usually save, so it's not a problem there. But on the fact that I had to reopen the editor and that takes a little bit of time. Yeah, let's wrap things up. And I will. Sorry for that. If you were following along, honestly, you can infer what I'm going to do here. I'm simply trying to match the effects to the text. And if you want the real text, I believe I will add also the final version, and you can look at the mod. So don't worry about that. I believe I don't do really um, much other edits to the files themselves, and we've already seen all of that. Hopefully, you have been following along. And yeah, I also note found out why I was having problems with the hunger descriptions here. It's because I wasn't actually, aside from creating bullet lists, I wasn't actually adding new bullets. So it wasn't displaying properly. But that's just a small little issue and not very important. But yeah, basically, with all of this, let me pause the video here with without any extra elements so that we can bask in the glorious sight of our own little tome. Uh, so let me pause that real quick, and there we go. So yeah, thanks for listening to me. Thanks for watching. Thank you for following. If you've followed along, if you've reached this point, then just as I said in the original video, thank you very much. You have a lot of patience, and yeah, I really hope that you enjoy this process, that you get to create your own ideas to make them a real thing, and yeah, that's basically it. Honestly, that's basically it. It was fun for me. I learned a lot. I learned a lot, and it was a little. It was nice to see to use another order of doing things, of changing my workflow. But I believe that explaining all of those stuff really helped me solidify my own impressions and knowledge. But still, there's a lot to do. There's lots of tomes to be created and lots of things to learn still. But I believe that we've had quite a fun little time here. I certainly enjoyed it, despite the actual time investment that it was. But yeah, thank you for watching again for the fourth or fifth time, and I hopefully see you on the modding side of the Discord, and also on other parts of the official Discord and anywhere on the community. If you have any questions, just hit me up and yeah, and ask me. But don't be yeah. Anyway, I guess I will now receive hundreds of messages asking me, how do I do this? How do I do that? Hopefully, this video should solve most of your issues. And please don't be afraid to actually try for yourself and break things up. If the worst that can happen is that your mod doesn't work. So yeah, see you on Discord and on other channels, and yeah, bye bye.